In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how we create this more moderately difficult logo here in CorelDRAW with EasyStyle. Now, this artwork was sent to us as a vector format, and while it's kind of the industry standard to work with a vector format when we're doing our rhinestone designs, I kind of learned it backwards. So very seldom do I ever use vector artwork, and this is very good vector artwork, but I'm just more comfortable working backwards. So I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but once you see how I go about it, maybe you'll like the process, maybe you won't. But let me show you how we're going to do this. So first things first, we're going to select our vector artwork, and we're going to bitmap, convert it to a bitmap. And then what I need to do is size this bitmap, and we're going to do 9 inches. That's how tall the logo is going to be on the shirt. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to think about how we want the logo to be kind of before we begin our artwork. And the text in this logo, we're not actually going to do. And the reason, of course, is because we have a very limited area. There's no way we could get Huntington Beach in the area that we have available in the design. So we're just going to kind of ignore the text. Pretty much everything else, though, we're going to cue in on. So let's go ahead and begin. We could, if we want to, lower the transparency of the image. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. So let's go in and do a uniform transparency here. I usually will set my transparency somewhere around 80, 90, whatever you want to do. Doesn't really matter. Then the next thing to do probably is to go ahead and right click on our object and lock it down so we can't accidentally move our bitmap, which could be problematic, obviously. Alright, so now let's go ahead and begin the work. So where do we begin in a design like this? Well, in this design, we're going to start with our circle in the middle. So let's go ahead and grab our ellipse tool here and just drag out a circle. If we hold our control key, that will constrain to a perfect circle. We're going to create our circle roughly the same size as the existing artwork. Now let's right click, and I'll tell you what, let's give it a little bit of thickness so we can see it a little bit more clearly. So you can see I created a circle. We'll grab our pick tool here, and then with my arrow keys, I'm just going to line that circle up. Okay, and you can be as picky as you want to be. Then I'm going to use my shift key and start from the corner. When you pull from the corner, it's going to scale proportionately, and when you use your shift key, then it will scale from the center. So watch what happens. Both sides grow at the same time. So there is our circle, and you can see it matches up to the original artwork pretty good. So the next thing to do here is to take our circle and come to the stone fill tab. Now I've already defined my stone size that we're going to be using, which is SS10. We've defined the spacing between stones, so you can see the island fill function has combined these two values, and that is the offset value. And what we're going to do for this example is we're just going to click island fill, and what the software is going to do is offset a series of concentric circles to the inside as many times as it can. We're not going to use all of these circles, so let's delete the ones that we don't need. I'm just clicking and deleting. Now, here's what I want to kind of cue in on. I'm going to actually back up one. Alright, so we have the original circle, and then we have all these that are perfectly offset, and then we have this circle. This circle right here is going to be crystal. This circle is going to be red. Now, we're not going to actually create the baseball in this particular video because we don't really need to. I already have a baseball that's going to fit perfectly in here. So we're going to kind of ignore that. But let's go ahead and add some red stones just to kind of represent the baseball. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come into light cyan, come to the stone tab, and let's add in those stones. Then for this next circle on the outside of that, we're going to do that in crystal. Okay, now the rest of these circles, I shouldn't say the rest, this outside circle is actually going to be done in light cyan as well. So let's go ahead and take care of that one. And this circle right here, if you move it, you can see that you do in fact have it selected. That's going to be crystal. Now these other circles here, I'm going to hold my shift key down, click on those outlines there. Those are all going to be cobalt blue. Okay, and so now you can see how quickly we created that, and it looks really, really good. So now that we have that in place, the next thing to do is right now all of these are attached to that path, right? So we're going to go ahead and get rid of those paths. We don't need those. So let's select the whole design, delete stone paths. Now, let's, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take care of the baseball bats. Now I do want to point out something here. If we look at the original artwork, you can see this circle almost lines up perfectly. In fact, if I were to select the entire design, like so, and pull over a guideline and snap it, you can see that that circle is the center of the design. And that's important to kind of cue in on that because I'm going to show you why here momentarily. So let's just take this baseball bat. What can we do here? Well, here's how I would handle it. I would take a few stones, pull those away, and then just right click, and that makes a duplicate. So you can see 3 stones is about the same width as our baseball bat. And I'm going to go ahead and rename and fill those stones to blue, which is what our baseball bat is. And then I'm going to right click and duplicate down here. And we can just eyeball this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever we want, we can just eyeball it. Now we have a really cool function here in EasyStone that will fill in the gap for us. So just select one stone, hold our shift key, select the other, shift add stones. See how it just fills that in for us? Shift add stones, and shift add stones. Just like that. Now, these stones are attached to a path, so let's get rid of that. Select that, delete stone paths. Then we have this. All right, so this part of the bat is just a little bit bigger. So here's what we're going to do. And I'm just fanatical. I worry about these little things. You would not have to worry about these things, but I do. It's the architect in me. So what we're going to do here is we need to add another stone. So the way we're going to do this is select one, hold the shift key down, select another. And this will kind of be our placement stone. So if we pick up from the center of this one, click and drag, and then right click and pick up from this and drop it at the center of that one, the spacing of this will be the same as this and the same as this. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take these, same thing. We're going to use a placement stone, pick up from the center, and one more. Okay. So now we know the spacing is the same all the way down. All right. So now this one we don't actually need, but we are going to make a small change to the placement of these, obviously. And this I will eyeball. Boom. Oops, I missed one. So we just kind of eyeball it wherever we want to. Looks like we had an extra stone there. So we'll go ahead and dispose of that. All right, so now that kind of takes care of the baseball bat the way I wanted to. If you wanted 5 stones wide, whatever you want there, it wouldn't matter. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and flip this baseball bat right over to this side. How do we do that? Well, the way we're going to do that is we're going to select all of our baseball stones. And you can see we do have one red stone selected here. So just shift, get rid of that red stone. And then we're going to go ahead and shift click on our placement stone. There it is. So we have all of our blue stones of the bat and that center point of our placement stone. Now, I'm going to show you the experienced CorelDRAW designer way, and then I'm going to back up and show you the beginner CorelDRAW way. Okay, so the experienced CorelDRAW user, what they would do is grab this control handle, drag it over here. If we hold the control key down, see how it just kind of snaps into place there? And then we would right click, and that would make a duplicate. And then we would have that duplicate, and we would pull it over center to center. And now you can see that this baseball bat lines up exactly the same way as this one did. So when you're first starting out, that may be problematic for you. So let's take a look at a more basic approach. So we have a selection of stuff. Left click, drag, right click, mirror it, pick it up from the center of this stone, and drop it to the center of that one. Same effect. Might be a little bit easier to grasp when you're first starting out. Okay? So that takes care of that. So now the next thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and pull over a guideline. And we got to pick the right stone there. There we go. So that becomes the center point. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create, we're going to go ahead and finish the bottom of this board here. So the next step is because this is a symmetrical design, we only need to create half of it. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab our 3-point curve tool, and we're going to start from this stone, because this stone right here is the closest to the outline. So start from that stone right there, click, drag, boom. That creates that line of stones. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to just click and drag. Very, very simple, right? Now, we're going to grab this node right here. Click on that node, because right now we have one continuous line, and we need it to be 2 lines. So we're going to click the break at node function. Now we have 2 objects. You see that right there? So now we're going to change our stone color and choose add stones. Okay, and that kind of gives us an outline to work with. Now here, where you see the stone spacing is kind of wide, basically what it's saying is this is how many stones would fit on this line, and make sure that we have at least a 0.5 millimeter spacing. If we wanted to tweak it and see what the spacing would be like with one more stone, just hit that little up arrow. That shows you one more stone. And if we're happy with that, it is a little bit tighter, but I'm happy with that. I can live with that. So we're going to leave it there. All right. So now we kind of have a boundary, if you will, to work within. So now we're going to take this stone right here, and we're just going to come to the stone fill tab and offset it down 1. That gets the perfect spacing. And then we're going to change the fill color. Rename and fill, because we want that to be crystal. And then what we're going to do is same thing kind of down here. We're going to come up here, offset 1, rename and fill, and then we're going to fill in the gap. Remember how we did that? Shift, add stones, fills in the gap. Now, you see what this looks like? You say, well, whoa, what happened there? And when you see something wonky like that, that means that one or the other stone, either the beginning or the end stone, was mirrored. So what we do is select either the beginning or the end stone, doesn't matter which one, and try one of these 2 options. If we click this one, now we got weird action. But if we click on this one, and then this one again, now those are like they should be. Okay? So there's just little things that you're going to have to learn about CorelDRAW when you see weird things like that. But once you get it, it'll be a breeze for you. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select all of those, because we have a bunch of stone paths that we don't want. So let's just delete stone paths. So now how do we fill in this area here? Very methodically. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Let me just show you how this is going to work. We're going to come to the stone fill tab, and the reason I do it this way is because I'm very particular on what I want. So let's go ahead and hit this over. Anyone can do that, right? That's not complicated. So these 2 stones are going to be red. So let's go ahead and make those light cyan. Then we're going to have 2 stones of crystal and 1 more stone of light cyan. Then we're going to manually place these vertically. So hold your shift key down, and we're just going to take the stone and nudge it. we're going to take this stone and nudge it, and nudge it, and nudge it. Okay, that's it. Then we're going to take these two stones, pull them down, and then right click to make duplicates, and then we're going to do the exact same thing. Get this spacing like we want it, like so. Okay, then we're going to use that shift add stones, shift add stones. You can see how it plots those in there perfectly. Same thing here. Just pull these down, make a duplicate. Don't worry about those overlaps. Don't panic. We'll fix it. Pull that stone right where we want it. Pull this one right where we want it. See, it's still overlapping, so just position it where it has to be and don't panic. Select these two, shift add stones. Select this one and this one, shift add stones. Then we'll go ahead and take this one, pull it down right where it needs to be. Select those both, shift add stones. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and take this and we're going to delete stone paths. Now, that's the basis of what we want, but you can see there are a few gaps here. So, and you know, that's the nature of rhinestone designs too. But what can we do to maybe minimize this somewhat? Well, there really isn't much we can do if we can only use SS10 stones. Anytime you have artwork that comes at these corners like this, it's always going to be problematic to have this big gaps because, you know, we can only fill in what we can fill in. Now, this customer did say, yeah, go ahead. If you need to use a few SS6s, I'm not going to sweat it. So we're going to change our stone size, and we're going to use a couple SS6s because it will allow us to fill things in just a little bit better. So let's resize this one, reposition it, duplicate it, and now we can fill in that area a little bit better. This one here, I'm just going to reposition, and I think that looks a little bit better. Now up here, I don't know, maybe we could shift this up a little bit, make a duplicate, very, very tight, right? So that's not going to work very well. So what we would probably do is probably take these and hit the resize replace. Maybe leave those in place. Or I'm going to actually resize this one because I think if we resize that one, I could probably squeeze an SS6 in there. Little gap there. So maybe what we'll do here is we'll change that back to an SS10 and then just kind of center it in the space. Okay, these are all little changes that you can decide as the designer what you actually want to do. It's a give and take because we only have the available space that we have, right? So some of these you just kind of have to hand place. On this one, we're not going to be able to fill, so we're going to have a little bit of a gap there. So that is just how it is. All right, so the key thing is once we get this half the way we want it, then we're going to duplicate that effort over here. Now down here, we might look at putting two SS6s in place of that one SS10. Let's try it. Do we like that better? Yeah, I actually think I do like that better. So you can sit and obsess over. The one thing that is glaring is the spacing of these. I think I can fit an extra one in there. So I'm going to select the first one and the last one and right click on create selection and hit shift A just to add an extra stone there. So now I'm happy with the bottom part of my surfboard. I can come in, select all the stones of this half, make sure they're all selected, and then we're going to do it the beginner way, right? I showed you to drag it down, right click, make a duplicate, and then we're going to flip it horizontally, and then we're going to take this crystal stone right here and drag it from center to center. And there we go. Now it looks like we did miss one stone. See that one? So that's okay. We'll go ahead and flip it over, drag it back, and now that's perfectly positioned. Now I'm just going to go ahead and select the whole kit here and come over to the editing tab, check spacing, There's 17 overlapping stones, so we'll go ahead and dispose of those. And that takes care of the bottom of our surfboard. Now, if we want to look at this, sometimes what I'll do is midstream here, I'll pull over a copy. I'll go ahead and use our keyboard shortcut to add a weed box and look at it. When you have the weed box, a black background, you can see what it looks like a little bit better. And I think I like what we're seeing here. All right, so that takes care of that. So the next thing to do then is we're going to pull over a guideline again. And we're going to go ahead and duplicate this stone fill. And we'll change the stone color. There, that takes care of that. All right, now let's take a look at our baseball bats. What did we do here? Well, what I did here is just kind of look at my bat and say, you know what, that is roughly 4 stones. So just pick those stones up, position it wherever we want to here. We're going to rename those so they're blue, and then we're going to pull them up wherever we want them. Right? We want them, let's just say we want them right there. Okay? Then what we're going to do is select the start and end. Remember, Shift Add Stones, Shift Add Stones, Shift Add Stones, and Shift Add Stones. I love that feature. Oh, no, now we did it. Go ahead and try that again. Shift Add Stones. I love that Shift Add Stone feature. Now you may wonder, well, that looks kind of a very blunt end to this bat. Well, I did that deliberately because I want to show you something. I'm going to go to our Shape Edit tool. We're going to modify this path. And we're just going to pull it down. And because we have that path, we can snap to that line. So I'm just going to pull it down here. See? And that kind of gives us a rounded edge. We can pull it down a little bit more if we want to. There we go. If we're happy with that, we're happy with that. Now, how do we get the other side exactly the same way? Simple. We just duplicate it. So, right-click, duplicate, and then we come in here and delete the other one. So now we have our baseball bat just the way we want. So now what I would probably do is come over here and duplicate that. Now, because we haven't actually separated these, it's easier to select those 4 lines. And remember, we have this reference stone here. Alright, so we're going to do it the more professional way, if you will. Grab a control handle, flip it, hold the control key, right click, make that duplicate, use that reference stone, bring it back over. Now you can see the bat is perfectly aligned left and right. Beautiful. But we do actually have a stone on top of a stone there too, but that's okay. Alright, so now the next thing to do is do just like we did to the bottom and create a boundary to work off of. So we're going to grab our 3-point curve tool and we're going to go ahead and start by clicking on this stone because it's closest to the outline. Come up here and just like that. Okay, so now we kind of have a boundary. So now what we're going to do is go to our light cyan here, add some stones to that boundary. There it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove those stones from the path. Delete stone paths. And then we're going to take this, go to the stone fill tab and offset it down. And then we're going to change, obviously, the stone color. And now we have the start stone and the end stone and Shift Add Stones. That'll fill in the in-between. Pretty cool stuff, huh? So now we're going to do just like we did before with the bottom. Let's actually delete that stone path as well. Take that stone and offset. So offset, offset, offset many times as we can. And then start changing stone colors. So these two are going to be light cyan. And then 2 crystals and 2 light cyans. Okay, and then we just have to position. So we're just going to tweak, hold the shift key down, and that will allow you to move that stone perfectly vertical, horizontal. Okay, perfectly vertical in this case. Get those stones however we want them to be. Okay, perfect. just like that. And then we need to copy those up. So select those two, pull it up, and get them positioned where we want them here. So we'll move that one down a little bit, maybe a little bit more. All right, select the first down and the ends down, shift adds downs. First down, ends down, shift adds downs. Then we're going to copy this up. So we'll move these up and position them where they need to be here. Shift add stones and shift add stones. Same thing here. Go ahead and copy those up. Shift add stones. This one we have to move down a ways. And shift add stones. All right, so now we kind of fill in the gaps, so to speak. And we'll go ahead and select the whole design up top here, delete stone paths, and then we'll start our modifications. So we're just going to use some 6SS to fill. So I think I'll start here and see if we can't squeeze one in there. I think we can get it done. So we'll do that. And here we can try. I don't think, yeah, it might fit. Sometimes we can just add a little bit of extra margin there. We really want to get nitpicky to fill those in. And we'll go ahead and change that to a 6. Fill that little gap a little bit better. And then this needs to be red, 6. So that looks pretty good. And then what we're going to do here, I'll tell you what, let's resize this one. Add a 6. Let's resize this one. Squeeze in a 6. There we go. And this one, I don't think we're going to be able to squeeze it in, so we'll just maybe just leave that little gap there. It probably doesn't really matter too much. All right. What are we going to do down here? Well, I tell you what we're going to do. I think I want to get these a little bit tighter. So let's do that. Let's try tightening those up. Shift A, tighten those up. And I think we left just enough room to fit in an extra 6SS stone there. And then going across here, tell you what, let's go ahead and change both of those to 6s. If we do that, I think we could get one more in here. And this is, this is really just a personal choice. How really picky do you want to be here? So we're going to just move those into place there. And I think we'll do the same thing here. We'll just go ahead and change those to 6s. That way we can squeeze an extra one in. All right. I think that's as good as it's going to get, just like that. And I think I'm happy with that too. So that works. All right. So now what we need to do is select all of this. And this is usually what I'll do. If I can't really isolate my selection, just pick up the whole kit and caboodle here. Make a duplicate of it. And then come in here and edit the stones that we don't want. So we don't want these outline stones here. Select those. All right, and then we're going to mirror it. And then we do have that center crystal stone as a reference. So just grab that, pick it up from the center, drag it over to the center. And you can see everything lines up beautifully. So now we're going to just pull this design away from the artwork. We'll throw a weed box behind it. And then just to finish this off, we're going to go to our editing, check spacing. That will get rid of all of our duplicates, 17 of them. And there is the finished design. So you can see it looks really great. It'll look great on your shirt. we do need to have that baseball in the center. Not a big deal. And just really turned out nicely. And you can see it is very methodical, very straightforward to do. Even though this design is a little bit more on the difficulty level, it was pretty straightforward to do once you tackle it step by step by step. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching.